Okay, also for some warnings for this, for the chapters we're about to read, there will be mentions of knives and guns and I guess a bit of violence, I suppose. There will also be mentions of a lot of blackmailing on this, and it's like an after smut scene and all that. Y'all will understand. Y'all will understand my frustration. So yeah. Anyways, y'all have been warned. Get straight into it now. Hello, everybody. So today we're going to be reading There Is No Escape, Yandere SCP Foundation, ex-listener up in here. Now, this is not where we're at. This is just for the recap. But anyways, getting straight into the recap. This isn't really like involved into the story. This is just an alphabet where we last left off, where basically is the Yandere alphabet about Jack Black, which is, how much affection, how much blood, cruelty, etc., etc., etc. If you want to find out the details, the hard-earned details, you might want to go to the video before this in this series. So, because it gets pretty gruesome, sad, or just straight up, nasty. Just, ugh. Just like, throw these men away. Ew. But anyways, now getting straight into it, which is 15. Chapter 15. You're bad at taking pictures, and it pisses me off. Okay. That's my brother to me, because apparently to him I suck at taking pictures. But I beg to differ. Anyways, Dr. Gear's POV. I walked down the hallway nearing the conference room. I have everything in order. I shifted the papers in my arms and stopped in front of the door. The 05 seems extremely interested in YN. I opened the door, seeing 13 screens having numbers lit up on the numbers lit on up with the test on the bottom reading audio only, signifying they could hear me and I could hear them. I closed the door behind me and walked in the middle of the room. Speak, 03 said strongly. I have been called here to report on my finding on the SCP 300 or YNMNLN. I paused as I looked down at the paper. SCP-NOC has shown anomalous properties that affect other anomalies, items, in nature. It seems to have some control over some anomalies, items, and others less so. It has shown to attach anomalies, items to its care when in distress. It has also been so to nullify the properties of an anomalous item if of its choosing. I was stopped. Yes, we all know that. We want to know how she's been affecting the SCP and testing. I've heard it's been quite surprising, 09 said as I nodded, flipping to the other page, looking through it all. I took a moment to prepare myself before speaking. I don't even know how to say that. Addendum log 1. SCP-NOC walked into containment cell of SCP-173 with 2 other companions to clean up the room. SCP-NOC made notable contact with SCP-173 after the light flickered, killing the 2 companions with her, leaving her alive even though she had closed her eyes for approximately 3 seconds straight in its presence. Only having SCP-173 move up to her, but not trying to any attempts of snapping her neck. I paused, waiting for a moment. I looked back down at the paper. Addendum Log 2. SCP-NOC walked into SCP-049's containment cell, talking with him for a short time before SCP-049 got up from its seat. SCP-049 proceeded to walk over to SCP-NOC, touching her cheek with no effect from its properties happening. SCP-049 became excited, proclaiming that she was the cure, then took some of her blood. SCP-NOC was taken out of the room shortly after. I stopped pausing as I flipped to the next page. Addendum Log 3. SCP-NOC walked into the containment room of SCP-096, presumably with her eyes closed. SCP-NOC used her foot to feel around, so she hit the wall and then continued to follow the wall over to SCP-096. She seemed to sense SCP-096 was in distress, so she crouches down and seemed to comfort it. SCP-NOC was told to exit the room and did as told with some trouble from SCP-096. I stopped. I looked up to the screens for a moment, then moved to the next paper. Addendum Log 4. SCP-NOC walked into the containment cell of SCP-682 under the false pretense of looking for damage of the cage. Wow, look at that. SCP-6982 seemed to notice, turned, walking up to her with its jaws opened. SCP-682 only stopped when SCP-NOC asked its name. Then the two started a conversation for a little while until SCP-NOC was told to leave the room. Then SCP-682 slightly became enraged, wrapping its tail and body around SCP-NOC. MTF came into the room to remove SCP-NOC and threatened to blow up the identification collar around SCP-NOC, making SCP-682 let go of SCP-NOC. I said, as the O5 seemed to take an interest. There were a few seconds of silence. Do you think SCP-NOC can control SCP-682? 007 muttered, maybe. Maybe we can use her. Continue, Dr. Gears. 06 said as I nodded. Addendum Log 5. SCP-NOC encountered SCP-999 and SCP-131 under the supervision of Dr. Glass. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. I paused as I flipped the paper. Addendum Log 6. SCP-NOC walked into the containment cell of SCP-035 with a Class D. SCP-NOC didn't seem affected by SCP-035's properties, but the D-Class was almost immediately affected by its properties. The D-Class put SCP-035 on and then started to convulse, signaling SCP-035 taking control. SCP-NOC and SCP-035 had a conversation in which they exchanged asking questions to the point where SCP-035 started to infuriate SCP-NOC, where she abruptly ended the conversation by slamming her fist into the table. I stopped talking as O5 interrupted into speculation. I looked up at the screens as they talked to each other. I should take YN soon before she catches more of the O5 council eyes. Maybe during a containment breach. I can grab her, then it would have to be a big one. I was snapped out of my thoughts as the O5 council stopped talking. Continue, Dr. Gears. 011 said as I nodded, looking down at my paper. Addendum Log 7. SCP-NOC walked into the containment cell of SCP-939, walking around for a few minutes until she was completely surrounded by them. SCP-NOC was frightened and hit SCP-939, but SCP-939 didn't show themselves as hostile and only landed around SCP-NOC until she was told to leave the room. SCP-NOC tried to leave the containment cell only to be bitten by SCP-939. SCP-NOC screamed out in pain and ran from SCP-939, having them chase after her, yelling, "Come back," in the amalgamation of voices that researchers reported to have never heard of before. SCP-NOC exited the containment cell and shortly passed out. I said, I could cause a giant containment breach site-wide. I shifted the papers in my hands. I felt my heart beat a little faster as I looked back down at the paper. Addendum Log 8. SCP-NOC interviewed SCP-1233. Much to SCP-1233's excitement, nothing out of the ordinary happened except for the fact that SCP-1233 took an extreme liking to SCP-NOC and seemed to have give a compliment to her. A later interview with SCP-1233 said he gave a compliment because it was once told that What you do with someone that's what you do with someone you like. Addendum Log 9. SCP-NOC did a short interview with SCP-079, with nothing out of the ordinary happening except for when SCP-NOC was leaving the room. SCP-079 warned SCP-NOC about the Foundation not having humanity. SCP-NOC didn't seem to take it seriously. I stopped again, letting the O5 talk. I waited as I watched. How could I cause a containment breach? I could release a keter and then just let that spiral. Then again, there would still be cameras. I could let something out that could cut the power, but then we couldn't get out. I need a plan. A good plan. I heard the O5 signaling me to continue. Addendum Log 10. SCP-NOC had a surprise encounter with SCP-990 while traveling to meet SCP-1836. SCP-NOC was told out her coming encounter with Dr. Kondrake, and how she would find out more about her properties when she would get to Site-17. Addendum Log 11. SCP-NOC made contact with SCP-1836, making the iceberg open, revealing the lady inside. SCP-1836 began to talk to SCP-NOC. SCP-1836 said that she could sense her presence the second she stepped into the water. SCP-1836 almost immediately stopped the conversation after that and sunk back into its iceberg, warning SCP-NOC to leave before it changed its mind. I said. I ran my finger over the paper as I flipped the page. Addendum Log 12. SCP-NOC was put through several tests resulting in nothing out of the ordinary for a woman her age and physical prowess. In fact, there was only one notable difference with SCP-NOC. Her brain waves are completely abnormal in effect and transmission. Her brain waves seem to fluctuate in the most notable way when she is near an anomalous item. See the lower page of 12 for full results, I said. I heard the O5 flip the pages and look through. This is truly strange. Strong emotions seem to be catalyst. Continue, Dr. Gears. O2 said. Addendum Log 13. SCP-NOC walked into the containment room of SCP-105. SCP-105 pulled SCP-NOC over to a table with pictures, wanting to show her ability off to SCP-NOC. SCP-105 anomalous effects didn't seem to kick in until NOC was told of it, in which she explained, "Really? That sounds really cool." The images being held in SCP-105 started to move after a short time, I said. I paused for a moment as I moved the papers in my hand. Addendum Log 14. SCP-NOC made a notable contact with SCP-073 during an SCP lunch. SCP-NOC handed SCP-073 an apple, which seemed to excite SCP-073. SCP-073 showed some hesitance at first before taking a bite of the apple. The most notable encounter from this is that the apple did not disintegrate. SCP-073 was extremely pleased. Addendum Log 15. SCP-NOC walked into the containment cell of SCP-053, seeming to scare SCP-053 slightly. After a short conversation between both of them, they started to play together until SCP-053 got tired and fell asleep while SCP-NOC was brushing her hair. SCP-NOC spent a total of 30 minutes in the room with no effect from SCP-053 properties, I said. I paused, letting the O5 consume the information. Addendum Log 16. SCP-NOC entered the containment cell of SCP-590. SCP-590 first appeared frightened until SCP-NOC started to talk to him in a soft voice, making SCP-590 come out of hiding. SCP-590 made contact with SCP-NOC with no effect from his properties. SCP-NOC began to draw with SCP-590 and talk, I said as I heard 06 shift slightly in his chair. I looked back down at the paper. Addendum log 17. SCP-NOC walked into the containment cell of SCP-166 and had a conversation with her. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. Excuse me. Addendum log 18. SCP-NOC made contact with SCP-239 during a containment breach in which she seems to calm down SCP-239. SCP-239 seemed confused and called SCP-NOC mother and seemed to comply with SCP-NOC's every wish. It also seems that SCP-NOC can nullify the effects of SCP-239's properties to some degree. I stopped as the O5 erupted into chatter. I looked up at the screens. She might be able to keep the Keter under control. O5 said, maybe. We don't know the degree of her control, and we need to do more testing. Her emotions can be unstable, so we need to be careful about our next moves. O3 said, I think we should start testing the capabilities of her properties. We need to find the line between what she can do and what she can't. O2 said, able. O6 said abruptly, what? A couple of the other O5 said at the same time. I looked at the screen as everyone fell silent. SCP-076. We should test her with him. O6 said, no, that's a bad idea. What if he goes berserk and kills her? What do we do then? This feels like this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We can't let this slip by. O4 said, she survives the hard-to-destroy reptile, remember? I doubt Abel would kill her. O3 said, that's true, but she might survive, but there will also be no guarantee others will. He could still go into a rage and kill everyone except her. O8 said, let's put this to a vote. O13 suddenly, like we always do. Say aye for yes, we test SCP-076 with SCP-NOC. Be silent if not. O13 said, pausing, giving time for everyone to think. I felt my gut twist. She'll be fine. She's always fine. All right, let's start. O13 said, aye. O6 said immediately, as there were a few mere seconds of silence. Aye. O3 said, aye. O6 said, aye. O7 and 5 said, still, there's the danger with it. Don't vote. Aye. O11 said after a few seconds of silence. Anyone else? O13 asked, waiting. No? All right then. That concludes that. We don't test SCP-076 with SCP-NOC. At this time, I want to submit this idea. What if we turn her into a researcher? O13 said as he was met with silence. Wait, why? O12 asked, look at page 9. The results from the IQ test is superior to most of the researchers here. We could start her at clearance level 1 and see how useful she is. Maybe assign her to higher level personnel. He paused as everyone flipped to page 9. I saw seeing it was 139, that high average. She's extremely smart, and if her properties are what we think they are, she could change the whole fundamentals of this foundation, O13 said. If she's so motherfucking smart, why does she have to be so motherfucking dumb in some parts? She is so dumbheaded sometimes. How are we this smart? A 139 IQ. And we act so dumb in this story, I swear. Make it make sense. Anyway, there was a brief pause. How do we know she's loyal to the Foundation? O7 asked. We test her. O13 said again. We put her through a test, and if she can make it through, we can make her a researcher. O13 paused. What kind of test? We could make one that tests her mental capacity, but we already did an IQ test. O8 asked. Procedure 110 Montauk on SCP-231-7. That will be her test. O13 said, she can't handle that. Everyone fell silent. But that's a bit much. That could cause an extreme amount of psychological damage to her. O2 said softly, That's why we have amnestics. 013 said. Everyone paused. Let's vote. 06 said. All right, the same rules as last time. 013 said. Aye. 013 said. Aye. 09, 01, and 06 followed. No. Aye. 011 said as silence filled the room once again. Aye. 07 and 8 said at the same time. Damn. I felt my finger tighten around the paper. That settles it. 013 said, this test will be set up immediately. Dr. Gears, we entrust you to pick suitable researchers to document the event. And please have amnestics and a psychologist on standby. 013 said as I nodded. Yes, this will be completed immediately. I said, good, you are dismissed. 01 said, I nodded and walked out of the room and down the hallway to make preparations. Why, don't worry. I'll get you out of here as soon as possible. I walked into my office and placed all the papers on my desk. Dr. Gears, how was the meeting? Dr. Iceberg asked. As usual. I said, clearance level 2. Better he not know. I sat down at my chair and opened my laptop. Please be safe. I started to write out emails. Dr. Glass POV. Okay, I'm sorry, I had to stop. Because this is the part where I did not know this, but freaking Dr. Glass, he's quote-unquote obsessed with us. He's literally sleeping with this bitch named Dr. Addison. I'm so mad. It's so disgusting. Oh my god. Anyways, this might be, I'm gonna give a minute warning that this might be nasty AF. So this is your warning before I start, okay? Dr. Glass POV. I slowly started to button my shirt as I heard Dr. Addison pull up her skirt. I didn't know you were so rough, she giggled as I tucked my white shirt into my pants. Disgusting. I was only rough because you're a pussy. Sorry, I said as I looked around for my sweater, grabbing it and pulling it over my head. Oh, it's okay. It felt good. She muttered, blushing. I turned my face away. It should be Wyatt saying that. I looked at my laptop as it binged. Did it feel good for you? Dr. Addison asked as she buttons up her shirt. No. Yes. I said as I noticed the bite marks on her neck. I didn't even come. I'm surprised I even got hard. Bruh! Oh, you were so nasty. Oh my goodness. And oh my goodness. I want to cry. I pointed to her neck as she smiled, pulling out a makeup mirror and putting some concealer on. I sighed as I walked over to Dr. Addison. Hey, I said as she turned to me. Yes. She said, I need to get to work. I said as I kissed her lips. Sour, so sour. Oh, all right, she said, sighing, but I'll be back tomorrow. She said as she walking over to the door. My YN, my sweet YN. I watched as she walked out of the room. Soon I'll have you in my arms. I'll have your nails running down my back as you scream my name. Bitch, after you did all this? No, sir. No, sir. No, man. Like, first of all, you're probably putting Dr. Addison, like, in false feelings. Like, ew. Anyways, I smiled as I did notice the door being opened. I was snapped out of my thoughts as a camera flashed. That's a good look on you. I turned to see Dr. Konjake holding a camera. Shit. Red lipstick all over your neck and lips. Seems like you had fun. He mocked, closing the door. Let's talk, I said. No, let me talk. Dr. Konjake said, walking over to me. You're really bad at taking pictures. He said, opening my drawers where I keep all my pictures. Bastard searched my room. He picked up a few pictures. I looked at the images, seeing the images of YN doing some stuff like sleeping. So cute. I smiled. By the expression on your face, I can tell that you don't understand how bad these pictures are. Dr. Konjaki said, see these? He pointed at the picture. If I was there, these would be 10 times better. There's even one with your finger in it. Oh, whoopsie. He said, pointing to my finger in an otherwise perfect picture. Sorry, I'm not really a major in photography. I chuckled, rubbing the back of my head. Dr. Kondrake glared. There's one picture I really like, though, he said as he pulled out a picture of Wyan sitting in his office messing with SCP-408. How cute. I'll kill him. I was about to grab my pistol when I felt something cut across my cheek. I paused and smiled. How fun, I muttered, turning around to see his ipe in the wall. How rude, I said. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't have missed if I knew I wouldn't regret it. He said, then paused. Is that right? I asked. Wyan would be sad to know you're dead. You dying would make her cry, he said. But know this. Stay out of my way, he said very dangerously. I looked at him and smiled. What do you mean? I asked innocently. All of those pictures are clear evidence that you have relations with the D-class. I would say the O5 would definitely terminate you. Then again, I'm guilty about the same thing, he said. So, let's get this straight. I have something that could ruin your chances with YN, he said, holding up the picture of me with lipstick all over me. I sighed. That picture. What would YN think? Yeah, now you think about it, you dumbass. I looked at him. She would think you're a man whore that fucks every woman he sees. A nice guy only putting up a front. Dr. Kondrake said, reading my mind. Is that right? I said, smiling as I sat down in my desk and my seat. And what are you then? I asked. A person who's better than every other man who's after her heart. All of them are dirty, cheating bastards who kill people without a care in the world, he said as he picked up a flash drive. I heard something when Dr. Bright and Dr. Cleft talking. Something. They said something about a video they need to get rid of. They also mentioned something about Wyan not finding out, Dr. Kondrake said. I looked at him as he plugged the file into my computer and pressed play, showing the video of Dr. Bright and Dr. Cleft killing the D-class brutally. A friend, I presume, Dr. Kondrake said as he smiled. So are you just gonna take it? I asked. The only leverage I have is that if he takes it, Dr. Cleft and Dr. Bright will kill me without a doubt. No, he said. What? I asked. It's a death sentence and you know it. So I'm gonna let you keep it. Just know, I hold all the cards. I have something that could ruin you, and you in return have something that can ruin Dr. Cleft and Dr. Bright. Simple, he said. I get it. If he wants Dr. Cleft and Dr. Bright out of the picture, he'll just threaten me and makes me share the video. Oh, I see, I said, smiling. Dr. Kondrake smiled. Good. You know your place, he said, walking over to the door, then paused for a moment. I do wonder something. What would have you done if you did kill me with that gun? He asked, walking over to the wall and putting his epee out of it as I smiled. Dr. Kondrake finally went insane and tried to kill me in a private session he requested. I had no choice but to shoot him 18 times in the chest in complete self-defense, I said, making Kondrake chuckle. You wouldn't want it to be slow, would you? He asked as I smiled. Of course not. I want a bastard like you to suffer through all the pain slowly so I can enjoy every last bit of it. I didn't answer, and Dr. Kondrake walked out of the room. The door closed behind him as I looked down at my computer, seeing the video. That email. I took out the flash drive and placed it in my pocket. I wonder. I muttered as I opened the email, making my eyes widen. Shit! I yelled, reading over the email from Gears. Dr. Glass, I formally ask you to join a testing group with SCP-NOC, or as you would call her, Wyan Ellen. She will be performing procedure 110 Montauk on SCP-231-7, and I ask you to do a psychological evaluation after the procedure. Please attach a response in the attachments below. I felt my body shiver. Damn, Wyan will definitely not be able to get through. I sighed and started to type out my response. Oh, goodness. Oh, this is all from the author. I'm not going to read that, but you guys can. Anyways, we can read one more chapter. It's okay. We can read one more. Just one more. Alright, y'all. So we is in chapter 16. Test. And then Pops equals Grandpa. Wine's POV / Dream Start. I stared at Pops and Father as they yelled at each other. She needs to know. This is her family we're talking about, Pops yelled. Why are they yelling? She could get hurt. Your only granddaughter. Think through this. And Father yelled, no, this is a betrayal of this family. I told you And then Pops was cut off. No, stop. I felt my tears prick my eyes. No, this is my daughter we're talking about. Father yelled as tears ran down my cheeks. Why are you fighting? I asked, coming out from behind the door. The two of them looked at me as I sniffled. Aiden, don't worry. Just the adults. He was cut off as he screamed in pain. I'm not... Sorry. Pop screamed as there was a bright light. I'm sorry. Father yelled as I covered my eyes. Dream end. I slowly opened my eyes, looking up at the white ceiling. Their faces. I can't remember them anymore. I felt tears within my eyes. My mother, brother, Pops. I'm so sorry. I felt tears pour from my eyes. I'm not going to continue. I began to laugh. I felt more tears pour out of my eyes. I can't see their faces anymore. Can't even remember their eyes. I laughed more as my stomach started to hurt. I feel like I'm going insane. I suddenly stopped, looking down at my hands. I just wish I could remember their faces. I hate it. I felt tears fall on my hands. I closed my eyes tight. Don't cry. You shouldn't cry. This place will take advantage of it. I took in a deep breath and slowly let it out, feeling my nerves calm. Stay strong. Just stay strong. I sighed and slowly started to get out of the bed. I felt my bare feet hit the cold ground as I looked around my room. I should probably do something, I said as I looked around the room, noticing a door. Huh? I walked over to the door and opened it, seeing it was a bathroom with shower this time. Wait, why did I have a shower? Why did I have to shower with Dr. Wrights? I sighed and looked around the bathroom. Whatever, I'll take a bath later. I walked out of the bathroom. I walked into the middle of the room and sighed. I got a bad feeling again. I watched as the door opened. I watched the door open as Dr. Gears walked in. Hello, Miss YN, he said. Please come with me, he said, gesturing for me to come over to him. That feeling. I walked over to him as he nodded and started to walk down the hallways. I felt the feeling grow worse as we continued down the hallway. It feels like it's choking me. I felt a shiver go up my spine as the two of us walked down the hallway. It's crushing. I felt the hallway darken as the feeling worsened. I looked up to Dr. Gear, seeing his back, making me sigh. At least he's here. I reached out and grabbed his lab coat without thinking. I said softly as I let it go. Did you need something? He asked as I blushed. Wait, no. It's nothing, I said, feeling my face redden. I paused and took a breath in, trying to calm down my nerves. I just really have a bad feeling and needed to stop before I fall down, I said, blushing. That's all right. Take your time, he said. I nodded and looked down at the ground. I just need time. It feels like I can't breathe. I took a couple of breaths, feeling my chest tighten. This isn't helping. I looked down at the ground, feeling my chest tighten more. Can we go now? I asked. Are you sure, Miss YN? You look faint, Dr. Gears said as I nodded. We continued down the hallway as the feeling grew worse. It hurts. It hurts. I repeated over and over again until we got to a door. Put this on, Dr. Gears said, handing me a blindfold. All right, I said quietly as I placed the blindfold on. Time skip. After a long trip going in from aircraft, automobile, underground tunnel, boat, and more, I felt very tired as the feeling only got worse. Get out, someone said as I walked off of whatever I was on and onto the ground. Bad, this is bad. The person grabbed me and pulled me to somewhere. I felt my feet stiffen as I shiver. Hey, keep moving, the person said as I nodded. Sorry, I said as I walked again. No, don't go this way. Bad. I shivered more as I felt my stomach turn. Bad, 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 bad. I was cut short as I was pushed into a room, hearing a short whimpering. I stood still. Please remove the blindfold, Miss YN. Dr. Gira said as I shakily removed the blindfold. I covered my mouth as I looked ahead of me, seeing a woman laying down on a surgical team, whimpering softly with tears streaming down her face. I felt an awful pain in my stomach. Oh no. I leaned up against the wall trying to shift my weight so I wouldn't fall. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. I stopped as I looked into her tear-filled eyes. You hurt. I felt my body shiver as I had a realization. So much pain, I muttered as I walked over to the table, not hearing the people talking over the intercom. I looked into her eyes as they seemed to soften. I'm so sorry, I said as my tears fell onto her cheeks as she looked up to me. Just rest. I placed my hand on her cheek as I heard the monitor slow down with people yelling in the background. I felt myself become dizzy as my legs gave out from under me, making me fall to the ground. Thank you, I heard someone say as everything became dark. Dr. Gira's POV. I looked on seeing SCP-213-7 slowly start to disintegrate. I hummed as wine fell to the ground, seeming to pass out. Get SCP-NOC out of there, I said to a reacher, as SCP-213-7 completely disappeared, leaving nothing in its wake. This is a weird predicament. A guard walked out with YN in their arms. Bring her to an isolated room with medical attention. We don't know what she's capable of. Contact the O5, I said as the guard nodded and quickly walked out of the room. I looked at everyone as they seemed stunned about what just happened. Please clean the room and take samples, I said as I walked out of the room, being met with Dr. Glass. I just saw YN being carried out by a guard. Explain, he said as I stared at him. I sighed and continued to walk down the hall. Follow, I said coldly, as we both walked down the hallway. So what happened? Dr. Glass asked calmly. Miss YN just terminated SCP-213-7, I said as we walked down into a room with no cameras and no one inside. Dr. Glass' eyes widened slightly as he followed me and locked the door. So, the baby? He asked. Gone, I said as I turned to him, seeing him pull a knife. It seems like my theories have been confirmed. I pulled my gun and turned it to Dr. Glass. A knife, Dr. Glass? I thought you were a little smarter than that, I said as I clicked the safety off. So, do you always carry a gun with you? Or are you trying to say something? Dr. Glass asked as I looked at him. I do have something to say. It's obvious that you have some unhealthy feelings for YN. I said, what happened to Miss YN? He asked. I started, what? Excuse me. What? Anyways, we're skipping that sentence. I slipped up. You don't really call any person by their names unless they're a researcher. But you call a person who was once a D-class and now an SCP. It's kind of weird, don't you think? He asked. You're like me, aren't you? He said in an antagonizing voice. That won't work, I said as I fiddled with the gun. Dr. Glass flipped the knife in his hand. And yes, we have the same feelings for YN, but you're bad at hiding it, I said as I placed the gun on the table. It is almost painfully obvious that you have feelings for YN. The way you look at her, the way you're always looking at her, the way you're always requesting to do more testing with her, I said as he lowered his knife. That obvious, huh? He said, sighing. Yes, but I'm the only one seeming to notice. Then again, I'm doing the same. Well, not as obvious, I said as I glanced at my gun. I felt a pain cut across my cheek as I pushed Dr. Glass' arm away from me, picking up the gun. Calm down, I said as I moved back, seeing him pointing the bloodied knife at me. It's best you just disappear. She'll never love you. She could never love you. You could never love her. You got nothing in your heart. I'm the best one for her. I can actually love her. You can't love her, and you know that. Dr. Glass said, I felt love before. I know what it feels like. It's warm and filling. I might not be able to show those emotions, but I can feel them. I said, touching my cheek, feeling warm spurts of blood coming out of it. I looked back to Dr. Glass as he chuckled. Is that what you tell yourself? Didn't you describe it as, what was it? Oh, I remember now. I'm aware of my feelings and what I'm supposed to do with them. But they feel disconnected. Like seeing someone cry and feeling a slight empathy for their plight, but not being moved to tears yourself. Isn't that what you said? You have no idea how to react. You may feel those feelings, but you can never express the affection she needs. You're a man who has a hole for a heart. Then again, you're not really any better than anyone else here. A man who's immortal and has all kinds of mental issues. A guy who's probably the devil and has a third eye. A man who breaks a bone every 5 minutes. An alcoholic who has a sentient horde of butterflies following him. Then again, there's probably more people like us, Dr. Glass said. Dr. Bright, Dr. Cleft, Dr. Gerald, Dr. Kondrake. I stared at him. Dr. Glass moved the knife in his hand. Look, I get it. Like, ah! He yelled, looking behind me as I turned my head. I felt the gun in my hand being knocked out of my hand as I instantly turned my head back to Dr. Glass, seeing a glint of a knife in the corner of my eye. Damn. I moved my head and felt the knife graze my ear as I pushed my hand on the back of Dr. Glass, making him fall forward. Why didn't I see that coming? I pressed my back against the wall as I looked at Dr. Glass, seeing him slowly get up. I looked around the room, seeing my gun under the table. Don't move, Dr. Glass said, standing between me and my gun, pointing his knife at me. Look, I hate you. I really do. But if I'll kill you, this foundation will kill me, and then one of those other crazy fucks will get her. I can't let her be with any of them. He said, he really thinks he's best for her. I sighed. I looked at him and looked at my gun. Can I have my gun back? I was stopped as a flash filled the room. Bugger, I forgot to turn off the flash. Someone said as me and Dr. Glass turned our heads to see Dr. Crow with a makeshift dog camera. Oh, don't mind me. Just getting blackmail, he said, running away. Damn it, not again, Dr. Glass said. Again. Dr. Glass ran after Dr. Crow as I sighed and walked over to my gun, picking it up. I walked out of the room and placed my gun back in its holster. Dr. Glass seemed to have been blackmailed before, but by who? Dr. Bright isn't that bright when he's out. Dr. Clef is too lazy to get blackmail. He would rather just kill his enemies. Dr. Gerald has too many problems to focus on blackmail. Dr. Kondrake. Makes sense. He likes taking pictures. He's smart enough to know when he needs enough of a lead to get ahead of the competition. I walked down the hallway, but was stopped when a researcher walked up to me. Dr. Gears, what happened? They asked. Right, my injuries. I should probably go to the infirmary. I got injured, I asked. But how? I said, but how? They asked as I paused. I got injured, I said as I walked away, giving them no chance to retort. 06 POV. I looked at the video as I played it back. SCP-213-7 is no more. I leaned back in my chair as I started to laugh. She can terminate them. I laughed as I picked up my paper. We can get rid of them, I said, looking at all of the files. SCP-682, SCP-343, SCP-076. I smiled, looking at all of the files. All of the Foundation's problems can be terminated. I stood up and looked over to the phone. I walked over and picked it up. I need to contact the other 05. I stopped myself looking at the video. I'll make contact with her first, I said to myself. Start small, I said to myself as I started to call again. Yes, 013 asked. I want my test approved, I said, making 013 sigh. We'll bring it up to the others. Did you see the video? They asked. Yes. We should start testing her more, I said. Agreed. She has a lot of possible outcomes, they said, as I nodded. She could change everything, I muttered. Yes, and we need to be prepared, 013 said. Ooh, it's getting good, people. It's getting good. Damn. Apparently, we terminated the pregnant lady, the quote unquote the empress. So, I'm not gonna make too many like observations because I know because there's an SCP that's specifically drawn in this type of way, to know, because I'm pretty sure it's something about like the king or the Scarlet King. I think that's what it's called. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna look it up too much right now because I gotta make sure I'm actually know who the hell I'm talking about. So we're probably gonna find out in the next Futurist video. Let me know what you guys think is gonna happen next. Do you think Wine is gonna be okay? What type of psychological damage do you think she might have received from having to terminate one of the empresses, quote unquote, or the baby, whatever? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Personally, me, I have no idea. I have no idea. Absolutely no clue. So, I'm pretty sure there's like 6 of them, so I'm not sure. We'll just have to see. Am I right? Am I right? Anyways, before we close this to a very sharp end, we have one more thing to do, and it's 100 Short Scary Stories by Miss_Guide01. I'm super excited. We are in part 3. We are in 3. I'm just gonna say 3 because chapter 3, it just doesn't make sense because it's not connected in any sort of way. So we're just gonna say 3 or 4. You know what I'm saying? 3. Insects. He awoke to the huge insect-like creatures looming over his bed and screamed his lungs out. They hastily left the room and he stayed up all night, shaking and wondering if it had been a dream. The next morning, there was a tap on the door. Gathering his courage, he opened it to see one of them gently place a plate filled with fried breakfast on the floor, then retreat to a safe distance. Bewildered, he accepted the gift. The creature chittered excitedly. This happened every day for weeks. At first, he was worried they were fattening him up, but after a particularly greasy breakfast left him clutching his stomach from heartburn, they were replaced with fresh fruit. As well as cooking, they poured hot, steamy baths for him and even tucked him in when he went to bed. It was bizarre. One night, he woke up to gunshots and screaming. He raced downstairs to find a decapitated burglar being devoured by the insects. He was sickened, but disposed of the remains as best as he could. He knew that they had just been protecting him. One morning, the creatures wouldn't let him leave his room. He laid down, confused but trusting as they ushered him back into bed. Whatever their motives, they weren't going to hurt him. Hours later, a burning pain spread throughout his body. It felt like his stomach was filled with razor wire. The insects chittered as he spammed and moaned. It was only when he felt terrible squirming feeling beneath his skin that he realized the insects hadn't been protecting him. They had been protecting their young. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. So, I'm pretty sure this kind of explains itself, but I will explain just in case if anyone did not understand it. So basically, some way, somehow, the bugs, I don't know, maybe they inserted the eggs or something, or their babies into the food to where he devoured, and they just kind of started nesting in his body. And he didn't notice it until it was way too late. And basically, their young grew inside of him. He didn't know it till it was too late. And the day they made him stay in his room, that's when they practically were ready to hatch. And basically, kind of either ate him or kind of popped from inside of him into the outside. Makes sense? I hope it does. It's pretty dark, but I remember hearing this on TikTok. But it was ugh. I don't know. It's kind of gives you shivers. That's why I don't like insects. Ugh. I don't know. Some insects are cool though, but some are fucking scary, especially zoomed up. But anyways, I do hope you guys did enjoy this. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more amazing videos, guys. If you want to read more about this 100 short scary stories, there will always and will be always a link in the description down below if you guys want to go check this out on your own. I'm just going to be reading this through October. So yeah, I'm super excited for that. But anyways, your girls sadly gotta go. I do hope you guys have been enjoying these videos so far. I personally haven't been enjoying these 100 scary short stories, but you know. Also, these are some like side notes. I deeply apologize for posting sometimes a little bit late, and it's mostly because I've been quite busy with marching competition. Luckily, marching season has finally ended. I know, crazy, right? I might post some pictures in the community of some pictures, some really cool pictures of marching, so you guys could like see it. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Anyways, not getting too much into those gritty details. Your girl sadly got to go. I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, wherever you're at. Make sure you take good care of yourself. Make sure you give yourself a mental health day. And make sure you give yourself a break once in a while. You deserve it. Anyways, your girl's gotta go. Bye and peace.